Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the movie The Fate of the Furious. And I overall really enjoyed this movie because it had a good story along with good action. Now granted, some of it was kind of insane, but it has been what the series has been evolving into and moving away from the complete driving aspect to kind of like the crazy stunts kind of action hero style. And I think it does the best with its ensemble in this one. It kind of hits that Avengers sweet spot where each character kind of gets their own kind of thing going on, and you don't feel that anyone's like shortchanged. It's like this person's just tacked on for what's going on. So we begin and we see Dom and Letty are in Havana in Cuba on their honeymoon and everything, and they're kind of going around, and Dom's cousin is having his car taken by this kind of local dude, so they work out the arrangement where it's like, alright, we'll race for the car. How about that? I'll put up my car for your car. How about that? It's like, alright, but you gotta drive his car, which the one dude's is the fastest on the island, and his cousin's is the slowest. So they pretty much take off everything from the dude's car, put in nitrous, and he pretty much has a supercharged portion into it. So this essentially turns into the craziest part of the film, in my opinion, because I know that sounds weird because a lot of crazy shit happens in this movie. But with this one was just the all the other stuff kind of fits with what's going on. This was just crazy for what was going on. They do the whole race, and Dom pretty much uses the nitrous, and the car pretty much catches on fire. And he's still driving it. He even gets pretty much screwed over by the guy to hit a motorcycle, and they get in the last leg, and he flips it and starts driving in reverse and pretty much boosts somehow towards the end because the whole thing's kind of blowing up to win the race. That was just kind of the craziest aspect because he also then rolls out from it as it flies into the ocean, and the dude's like, alright, you won. He gives him the car. He's like, nope, here's my respect and here's my car. He's like, nope, your respect will do. He's like, okay. And then Dom gives, of course, the car that he was driving around in Havana to his cousin. He's like, yeah, a Toretto needs something a little bit faster. And it's like, that actually is important, the respect of the dude later on, because he becomes important in Dom's plans. So he's heading back to the apartment they got with Letty as they were talking the night before about kids and all that. And he gets stopped pretty much by this one woman and is pretty much forced to help her with what's going on. So then we see Hobbs kind of doing his stuff with his daughter with all the soccer and how he's really into it and helping his daughter and all that. And this government dude's like, hey, we kind of need you to take this EMP from this place in Germany. We can't officially sanction all this, and he's busting the guy's balls because in this one, Hobbs has become the full kind of action movie star, and The Rock really nails it in this one because they give him enough time to choose scenes and do action scenes and just get into that cheesy hamminess of the dialogue but still kicking ass. So he pretty much busts the guy's balls to cheer for his daughter's team and all that. He's like, alright, daddy's gotta work. So he calls Dom as Dom was working everything together to get his team together to do it. So they go into Germany, and of course Roman has had everything explode. He's like, you used up all the explosives? Alright, whatever. So they're going through, and they're like, alright Roman, don't think, just follow. And then Tej unleashes these wrecking balls to take out the people that are pursuing them. And as they're able to get away, Hobbs has the EMP in his car. He's like, alright, when we get back to the base, beers are on me. And then Dom runs him off the road and takes the EMP and goes off. It's like, what the heck's going on? So, of course, because of that incident, everybody's on the wanted list. And of course, Hobbs has been arrested. And we see Kurt Russell's Mr. Nobody with Scott Eastwood's, as he's turned in the movie later on, Little Nobody. He's the kind of rookie that he's training. And of course, they want to get Hobbs out of prison and everything and have them go after Dom because he's the only one that's gone after him and successfully captured, but at least got him to a point that he was never really captured him. He got him, but not really. But he's the closest that they've gotten to that. So he's like, no. And of course, the little nobody dude is like, do it for your daughter. And of course, breaks through the handcuffs and everything, puts him up against the wall. He's like, ow, crap. He's like, hold on, he's new, he's green, just cut him some slack. Rule number 2, know your audience, kid. And Scott Eastwood did a good job in this. I really kind of liked his character. He was kind of like the newbie government kind of dude, and he just really owned up and had a nice arc throughout this movie. So, of course, they need Hobbs, and they put Hobbs in the same prison as Deckard Shaw. So, of course, they're doing their whole bits back and forth, and the cell to Hobbs' door opens. It's like, I'm not doing this, I'm not taking it. And then, of course, Shaw pretty much forces his hand because the riot cops had come in to make sure that he stayed in there, and Shaw got a hold of one of them, got himself out, and then that unleashed a whole riot throughout the whole prison, because when he did it for his, it short-circuited the rest of them, and then everything's going crazy, and Shaw's trying to get out of there, and then Hobbs is following him. You see a lot of good action scenes that they're like pretty much taking out all the riot people, seeing the Rock shrug off rubber bullets and everything's like, and just like wholesale beating ass. And see, his fight scenes are different than Dom's and like Shaw's. Shaw has a kind of finesse to him, whereas The Rock is using more kind of brute force strength instead of like superfluous movements. Whereas Shaw and Dom would kind of like use some other ways to kind of like get around an opponent. The Rock takes the least amount possible. He uses overwhelming force to pretty much get his point across. So they pretty much get to a point where they're almost ready to come at each other, and then of course Mr. Nobody's out there is like, that took a little bit longer than I thought it would. So, of course, they go to Mr. Nobody's base. They're talking about how, of course, they're all wanted, and Roman is number 11. He's like, dang it. All right, how about we use God's Eye? That's how we'll find Dom and everything. And, of course, they're talking about Cypher, who is Charlize Theron, this hacker. But, of course, Ramses thinks that that's just a whole collective, but it's actually this woman, and she's very hard to find. We find out that she uses this plane that's pretty much untrackable and ghosts through the whole different waves to get to where she's going. So they use God's Eye to figure out that they are right on top of them. And then we see Dom and her come in and take God's Eye, and of course Cypher kisses Dom to get back to at Letty and everything. And we see that Shaw's brother was on the screen as well, Owen. And Dom looks at Owen and kind of has that stuff memorized. And that becomes important later on. So, of course, they're trying to figure out what to do, and kind of what the whole situation is about. We see that Dom and Cypher have their new kind of target. It's this Russian diplomat that's got nuclear launch codes for Russia. So, while Dom is trying to scope out and figure out what to do, he's able to hide and get in contact with this woman who we don't know at the moment, but we find out later on is the mother of the Shaw brothers. And, of course, we have seen that the guy from Cuba had pretty much helped him orchestrate this kind of thing, that he had 5 minutes to talk to her and everything. And the reason he talked with her is because Cypher's leverage on him was that this one woman that was a police officer in Brazil in one of the previous films had gotten together with Dom, and they have a son who, the kid is cute in this movie, and the scenes that he has later on are really pretty good. And that's, of course, the card that he plays with the mother. He's like, I understand your pain, let me help you get your boys back, if you help me get mine. So, of course, throughout the whole thing, Dom is able to get the codes, which we see this pretty awesome scene where Cypher's able to hack all these cars and pretty much make them a tsunami. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it fits within the framework, and I really liked how it was done, because it's used as like a freaking tidal wave of cards to like force them into a position where Dom can get to them and get the codes and get out. And of course, as he's getting out, his team comes in, and of course Greenhorn, little nobody, kind of goes a little bit squirrely too early, and Dom's almost able to get out. But they're able to do this cool scene where he's like pretty much captured by him, and there's like he's like pumping out like 5,000 horsepower and is able to like screw Roman over and get out. And of course, Shaw's going after him, and Dom shoots him, and we think he's killed him, but that's not the case. They keep going, and we're figuring out what's going on. And okay, they got the EMP, they got the nuclear launch codes. What's next? Oh, there is this submarine that was captured by this like terrorist group in Russia that we need to go stop, because that's probably the next target. So that begins kind of finale of what's going on. And because Dom did not kill Letty during the chase scene, they kill the mother of Dom's son. And that really pisses him off. And it at least works within what's going on, because there wasn't really much invested in the character, but it at least proves a credible turn of why Dom would go against his team. So he pretty much goes in badass guns blazing with the EMP, gets to the point where he's under the submarine to pulse it and get it so that Cypher can get remote access to it, and then he goes out, and his team's, of course, trying to stop everything that's going on. They take out the launch card for the submarine so that they can't launch any nukes, but Cypher's able to get the submarine going, so they're going off in their cars, and, of course, Roman's driving an orange Lamborghini that is not equipped for this kind of terrain, and gets to do a part where he's pretty much going underwater when Tej is able to like pull him out with the door and kind of get him back in with Hobbs. So then they're pretty much racing on and trying to stop the submarine from making it dope in water. And of course, Cypher's getting pissed off at what's going on and gets the sub to go up and shoot torpedoes. Now, this is another kind of crazy part where it essentially turns into Mario Kart. Granted, it only happens for a little bit, but I saw it in the trailers and I'm like, it's Mario Kart, where The Rock takes a torpedo and throws it at another car to blow it up, essentially using it like a blue shell. I was like, okay, but it still works. I understand that this is like a vehicle action movie, go with it. I was just like, that's really like Mario Kart. But they keep going on, and of course, everybody's like, their cars are getting beat up, and they're getting chased by this sub that's like coming out, and we see that two people are going in at the Cypher's airplane, and it's the Shaw brothers, because they need two people to get into the area where the sun's at. So, of course, Owen goes up to the cockpit, Deckard goes to where the baby's at, gets into it, gets the baby, and puts him in a case, puts little headphones on, playing Alvin and the Chipmunks music, and the kid's just having a ball. Seriously, I don't know what they did to have this baby. I mean, it must have been hell to get him to do the whole scenes, but the baby looked like he was having fun as hell, because you see Shaw just like beating the shit out of people and like using really cool moves to take out these people, because you can actually really tell where the action's flowing. I really like that when it's well done in an action movie, because if you can't tell how badass a person's being, there's no point to the action scene. You want it to flow and to be able to see and understand what's going on. And just seeing the little touches, like this one dude was shooting at the kid. He's like, you'd shoot at a baby, and then you see him just beating the crap out of him, and he's going and he like looks at the kid, sniffing at him, like, is that you or him? And then it's like, that's probably him. So he tries to get Cypher to stop what she's doing, and of course she's like, well, there's one parachute, and then she goes off again. And we see that she had gone after Dom because she had taken out two of her team before, the Shaw brothers. First the Owen Shaw, and then Deckard Shaw. That's like, it was kind of interesting to have a other figure back there, kind of like orchestrating all the moves, but it was kind of like a little convenient, but I kind of like that they at least tied it up to that portion. So she's off in the wind, probably going to be like the next villain, still continuing, or she's going to do something else to kind of create her own anti-Fast and Furious team. But that's where she's left off. They go on. Dom's able to help his team get through the whole thing with the submarine, and of course use the heat-seeking missile that Cypher had shot at him to blow up the submarine, and everybody's all good and back together. And then they are celebrating by a family cookout in New York, and Shaw, of course, brings the kid, like, yep, here we go. And he's like, I can't believe you went to my mother. He's like, alright, so they're good. Cypher has been the one that's been the whole force screwing everybody over. And it's kind of cool to see them kind of have their repertoire kind of like, okay, I know we've done bad things to each other, but I helped you, you helped me, we're good. And then seeing everybody kind of get together, Hobbs, who's let go of being a special agent, wanting to take care of his daughter and all that, and seeing Mr. Nobody and Little Nobody, and Dom introducing his son to Letty and everybody, and being like, hey, meet Brian. And it's like, okay, that was cool, and a nice nod to Paul Walker's character and all that. And it really kind of like did a very good wrapping up of kind of an arc, I think, and seeing that everybody's doing their own kind of thing, and kind of just making it plausible for Dom going against his team, because that would be the only thing. Family like that would trump it. So, we're good to see this. Maybe see them mentor a younger kind of team or whatnot, or see what they're doing with Cypher. I don't know. But I enjoyed this movie, and I enjoyed the action and everything. It's kind of a plot that you can follow, an action that you can follow, and I would actually recommend seeing it if you're really into the Fast and the Furious franchise and into action movies. I mean, it's not on par with what I believe John Wick is, but these are two different movies. They're both action movies, but they're both trying to do something completely different. So, if you really want to see it, I would really recommend seeing it. Otherwise, if you want to wait, I wouldn't knock you for waiting, but if you're into it, definitely go and see it. So, those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.